It's a great day here at the Recharge Your Life online video series. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm your host, Phaedra Antioco. Right now, we are going to talk everything money and financial stuff as Krisstina Wise joins us to talk about untold secrets of financial freedom. But first, let me share a little bit more about Krisstina Wise with you. Krisstina is a real estate mogul, millionaire coach, and creator of several multi-million-dollar businesses, including Good Life Luxury, and the paperless agent, and most recently, Wealthy Well. And she is an international speaker and award-winning author of Amazon bestseller, Falling for Money, a romance novel for your bank account. Love that. Named one of 100 most influential real estate investor leaders in the country, she has been featured in USA Today as well as by Apple, Contactually, and Evernote for her creative leadership with emerging technologies. Please welcome Krisstina Wise. Thank you so much, Krisstina, for being here today. I'm really excited to share your wealth of knowledge. No pun intended. Okay, pun intended. So let's start with, what is your money story?
Oh, I have quite the money story, but I think my story resonates with so many. And my story I started in a trailer home, and it wasn't even a double wide. Mine was a travel trailer in the back lot of somebody else's trailer home. So we grew up very poor, and with that environment came a lot of dysfunction, alcoholism, and a lot of conflict, a lot of stuff that kids probably shouldn't see or be introduced to, but that's just the way things are. But from a very young age, I grew up with the stigma of being poor. I was the kid that had high waters. I was the white poor kid that was from that side of the train tracks. And so we know how kids can be very cruel, and growing up with that type of I don't know, just being poked fun at, being an easy target, it made me really feel less than. I felt inadequate. I felt that I wasn't good enough because I didn't have the emblems. I didn't have a car. I was on the food stamp program at school. So I did quit eating lunch at school because I didn't want to be the kid that got the free lunches. So I just quit eating because I didn't want to be that kid that would go in and get those lunches and I mean any sorts of things. But also that was that side of it. The good side that came out of that was I became very entrepreneurial from a young age, that I thought, well, I don't have money, but I want to have money. So I got that drive of wanting to have money. Now it was probably, well, I know now it was a very dysfunctional type of want based on the source of it, but it worked well for me because, coming out of that, I was very driven to make money, to have money. And therefore, once I got straight A's in school, I got a scholarship, I went to college, I got a business and account, I got a finance and accounting degree, double major, and just went to making money and became very good at that. So that what was something that I was made fun of turned into an ambition to not be that anymore, to prove myself, to say I'm worthy because now I have money. But then my worthiness became very attached to what car I drove, what clothing I wore, what bag I carried, what house I lived in as an adult. So that was that baggage that I carried with me and drove me for a long time. And what happened is I was making a great income, and then life happens. I'm a single mom, as primary wage earner but now I'm a single mom, divorced, and I can't pay our bills. And so now I'm with my two babies as a single mom, and I have to take charity. Again, we're a charity family as kids. I have to take charity from my colleagues at work to pay our light bills, to have furniture, to have towels and sheets. And it was so great. I mean, they filled the the refrigerator. I mean, I was in terrible shape, but here I am now as a mother wanting to reverse that pattern from, you know, many generations of generational poverty, if you will.
Right.
And now I'm in the same place where we're a charity case. It's only because people at work are saving us, filling us groceries. So I just was filled with so much shame and guilt. And here I am recreating the same situation that I grew up in for my children. not being able to pay the bills. So that sent me on this journey. I made a really high income, so I couldn't understand, like, why is it that I made such a high income and I have $150,000 of debt and IRS liens and credit cards, and I can't pay our bills. Like, that didn't make sense. I was like, but I made so much money. So that sent me, that existential crisis sent me in this desire to want to learn money. Like, there's something missing. There's some puzzle pieces missing. So how does this whole money thing work? And that really took me on that whole desire and ambition to get good at money, and learning that income and wealth are radically different. And all we talk about is making money, and very rarely is a conversation about true financial independence, freedom, and wealth, and the distinction between the two.
Wow, I am blown away by your story, and my heart goes out to you. Like, I feel for you and that little girl inside. And I think a lot of that partially is because I went through the same thing. I grew up in a very wealthy area in a little townhome. And I said, I have to work hard, and I'm gonna make it, and I'm not gonna end up like my parents, a single mother raising three kids. And you know what? Sometimes it's exhausting, but it is a program that runs me, and it runs me every day. And I could just imagine you as a little girl and a lot of the pain that you experienced as well.
Yeah, so we're kindred spirits. I know exactly that feeling. Like, we share that feeling of being that little girl that wants for so much, and is trying hard and wants to improve things and change things, and is scared, but just going and doing their best to, yeah, to create a better future.
Yeah, and my goal was like, I'm gonna buy a big house. I'm gonna buy a two-story house. And I have this two-story house, and it's just me. And it's ridiculous, but it was the old me and my old survival skills and my old story that created that. And I don't know if you ever have those conversations with yourself,
Oh
just
my
about.
gosh. Yeah, so once I made a decision, I call that existential crisis number one, was that real money crisis. I was early 30s, my kids were babies, and that sent me on that next evolution of, all right, I was good at making money, but now I'm going to get good at money. And that, I did very well at that game. I built businesses, I built wealth, I I learned, I mean, I learned, applied. But I was in real estate. I was in real estate sales, at a real estate brokerage. I was an investor. I had a very well-known business nationally. My brand was well known. So that all seemed to be working really well until the day it didn't work anymore. And what I didn't realize, that even though I got out of the with the lack of knowledge, I learned the money game and I got really good at it, but the programming hadn't changed, because now I wasn't in a place of what I call being a high income broke person. So before, as a high income broke person, what a high income broke person is someone that makes nice 6 or 7 figures for the most part, but they're still one paycheck away from disaster, and life happens and you're out. So
Mhm.
it's a very stressful way to live. There's that constant financial anxiety and stress. So it's a big change when you get outside of that type of pressure and tension, and knowing how to do that. And so I'd moved, and I created financial security. I had a good level of abundance. I was out of that, I had a big run rate. But then what happened is that with that same programming, however, was that not good enough programming. So even though I paid cash with things, and I had zero debt, and I had assets, and I had some liquidity in this good financial secure place, that programming still owned me, that no matter where I got, it was never good enough. So it was always that chase for more money, bigger business, more zeros, more assets, whatever the case was. And I was just stuck in that because I was never good enough, no matter where I was. And it was that feeling of having to still buy my importance or status was what was unsustainable. So I had, my second crisis was a health crisis, and you've had your health crisis, and yours, I mean, mine was a health crisis. Yours was in a hospital, completely in a, I don't even want you to straight jacket, basically.
Yeah, full
So
body brace. Yeah, it was rough. And that was one of the biggest challenges in my life. And I use that often. I go back to realize, wow, I survived that. But I have also gotten myself into a huge financial debt over this past year. And it is literally making me sick. And it was part of my concept with creating this series, because when I work with my clients, usually there's a lot of fears going on. And I got the name of this series, the 5Ds, because, and you're in real estate, why do people sell houses, right? Disease, divorce, death, loss of a loved one, they lose a job, they're disappointed, or they can't afford it anymore. So then I went out and I've just been then deep tumbling. So my health with the stress levels is also a constant battle to pick up. So I'm really glad to have you here as we're talking, because there are people here who maybe they have so much medical bills because they're in a lot of pain. They've tried everything. It's not working. So I definitely, like, you're the person. So you worked real hard to earn the money, bring yourself back up, and you got sick. What happened?
Yeah, I got sick. Mine was a perfect storm of
Usually is.
one, it was heavy metal. Yeah, it was a heavy metal poisoning that ultimately was the straw that broke the camel's back. But I was sick. I mean, I just lived an unsustainable lifestyle. Since I was never good enough, I was the ultimate perfectionist and constantly performing and running marathons. And I mean, it was just this lifestyle and wasn't taking care of I was over taxing my system. So adrenal fatigue for whatever that is, like near death. That means hormones completely whacked and heavy metal poisoning. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but I was so strong physically and emotionally. I was like impenetrable. I was like
For sure.
hardcore business person, right? And then I just kept all that trauma and all that childhood stuff down. So when my body broke, all that other emotional, psychological stuff came up also. So I mean, I was out for the count. But during that, what I call a spiritual journey, which was the healing journey,
It was.
and going through the whole darkness and blackness and having to face all that shit that I didn't ever want to face, that all came out. But on that proverbial and literal deathbed, I mean, I was fighting for my life. Is that I learned that, oh my gosh, Krisstina, here I got really good at the money and wealth game. But one, I spent all that wealth that I accumulated to get my health back. So that wasn't a very good strategy. One, and then so I was at a place to start over again financially. But the second thing is what I learned was it was all not good enough, that I was really putting way too much pressure on myself and living this lifestyle to have status and to be acceptable, just like I was still trying to do when I was a kid.
That's
And
the
that
thing.
is
It's
what,
your old story
yes,
running you. And that's where we talk about those hidden traumas. That
yes.
little girl who didn't want to eat the school lunch because she was embarrassed and she didn't want to be caught, caught out, stand out. So here it is. That's what I want to really, really talk about today, is this inner program that even as adults, because when did you have your health crisis? How long ago was that?
That was in 2013, and so
Okay.
all of 2013 was fighting for my life. Then it took 2 years after that to really recover and get my health back. But on that, what I realized then was that the money doesn't matter. Like, it was this paradox that money matters more than anything. But in my case, it literally saved my life. I mean, in 2013, it was $250,000 cash that saved my life, and I had it, so I didn't have to go into debt. I didn't have to, thank God the money was there, and it allowed me to pay bills. I mean, to find the right doctors and help that insurance and stuff wouldn't cover. So it literally saved my life, which thank God I have it. But during that time, I didn't care about my big house. I didn't that I owned. I didn't care about my Range Rover. I didn't care about my lake house. I didn't care about all the awards all over my walls. I didn't care about my business per se. All I
Overachiever.
was filled with was shame and regret and like, oh my God, I'm dying. I haven't even lived yet. I was always in the chase of chasing something. I fucking missed my life and just realized it was all some stupid game. And I made this wager with Mother You saying, I think I've learned the lesson. If you give me another chance, I will teach what I've learned. And I'll teach this, that money matters. We have to get good at it. We have to get out from under the financial anxiety and stress, because it is a killer. And at the same time, we have to understand that it's not about the money. And what is it about? That money is just a tool for underwriting the cost of living a good life. And what is a good life? And how much does it cost to live the life that we want? And then what's the plan of action or strategy that takes us from where we are to where we want to be? And then being in the process of creating and building that. But then the other part is that money, what we don't understand is that there's this underlying myth that the answer to all my money problems is to make more money. So it's this constant quest to how to make more money, how to make more money,
Mhm.
how to make more money. And if I just make more money, I'll be fine. And it's as though it's this belief system that almost everyone has, that if I just make the money, I never have to worry about money. It'll just take care of
Mhm.
itself. And money doesn't operate that way. Money is it's a skill. It's a mindset and a skill. So we have that programming that we all bring from our childhood. And if the programming's off, then that's going to sabotage our best intentions. But even if we have a good mindset, but we don't understand the skill of money and how to build wealth skillfully, that requires systems and structures and distinctions and understanding, that all we're in is the make more money game, and the being in that constant churn, chase, grind, it's unrelenting. We get stuck there, and that lasts forever until we stop the madness and understand the only way to get out of that is to learn money, to understand it and apply it, so that systematically we can get out of that what I call that hamster wheel.
Okay. What's the secret? Where do we start? Can you break it down for us? We can start with the mindset piece first, because obviously the first thing I guess is have awareness,
Mhm.
how you were in your childhood, what your beliefs, what you valued, and how it might be showing up. And those could be those hidden traumas that you had.
Yeah, and I call it financial trauma actually, because
Ah,
we do come with a level of financial trauma,
mhm.
most of us. And so I have money classes, and the students that go through my classes, the first thing we work on, I call it the mind, body, and spirit of money. And so the mind piece, or the mind piece, is the mindset. And the first thing, like those listening, some exercises that I have my students do, but that everybody can do right away, is there's a couple exercises that I recommend. Is one, write a story to money. And this is an exercise that means just flat out, like if it was a bad relationship that you're breaking up with, and you just wanted to say everything you didn't say while you guys were together. So if it was a love relationship, like, man, you just never listened to me, and you were never there when I needed you, and we didn't spend enough time together, and you hurt me, and what, like, just say whatever you'd want to say. So with money, it can be something like, where are you when I need you? And you're always elusive, and I hate you, but I love you. I'm pissed off that I need you and I don't like you. Like, whatever those feelings are, it's the most cathartic exercise to just get it out and just see what comes up, because there's so much trauma under there. It's the same thing, like trauma work is just getting that out. Sometimes it's writing a story to people that have hurt you. Like I was raped as a young girl. And so I carried that trauma with me for a long time. And a lot of the healing work was doing this same type of exercise, which that's why I brought this into my money program, is because how healing it was just to share, like to just put on paper all the hurt and betrayal and anger and taking away my innocence and all those things that I felt that haunted me for the longest time, until I got that out of my system and worked through that and healed through that event that stayed with me with a good portion of my life without my knowing it. So
Wow.
same thing with money. Like, what is that story that we're carrying? And it's the story, it's our relationship. And then just rewrite the story, get it all out cathartically, and then just rewrite the story. And the goal is to have a loving relationship with money. So it's like you had a bad lover that didn't give you attention, and now we want to replace that for a great lover. So what would
Wow.
we say?
That's
What
such a
would
good way to look at this.
Because if imagine if we money's just like so any relationship, but money's a relationship. So what is our relationship with our money? It's either healthy or unhealthy. The unhealthy side is being in a relationship, but let's say we're the ones, and we're with a romantic partner, and we don't give them any attention. We're always really busy and have all these other reasons why we don't want to spend any time with him. We don't communicate. We don't address any of the problems. We just pretend everything's okay. We're not saying anything. So what do we think? Where do we think that relationship's going to go? Where is he or she going to go?
Mhm.
they're probably going to go into somebody else's bed. So I call this like our money's going into somebody else's bed. And that means in somebody else's pocketbook, to the bank, somebody else. Like our lover is in bed with somebody else, and we're forcing that lover out. So with money, we want that love relationship. There can be unhealthy love relationships and healthy love relationships. We can have an unhealthy love relationship with our money, which means greed, hold on to, fear of loss, letting go, like that type of thing, or these stories attached to it. Or we can have this very healthy, loving relationship, which is about gratitude and appreciation. It's so easy to first, it's like with a lover, we can criticize all the things they're not doing versus being appreciative for the great things that they do.
Hmm.
So same with money. It's like to develop that relationship. So that starts with the story you write, that I love you. I'm so grateful for the time. I'm so sorry that I don't spend enough time with you. But moving forward, I want to have a great relationship. I want to spend time with you. I want to, if there's conflict, we're going to talk about them, resolve them. I'm going to learn about you. I want to know your deepest feelings, thoughts, and desires. I'm here with you. We're in this together. I'm not afraid of you anymore. I know that we can do great things together. And I want to spend time with you. I want to love, honor, and cherish you. I respect you. I'm grateful. So when we turn that relationship, then it's amazing how then we become more attuned to it, and we want to spend time with it as opposed to ignore it or
Running
abdicate
away
it.
from it, like that's how I really dread going into my online banking, or but again, it goes back to my parents and how they handled money. I have one parent who barely doesn't even know what a file cabinet is, and I have one who's extremely meticulous, and I kind of fall in between, and I'm afraid of it. So this is good information, because I guess we need to embrace it and
Yes.
love it and cherish it, because avoiding it is just causing so much angst.
Yeah, and it's like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, that you're so afraid of it. And
Mhm.
then when you pull back the curtain, you see it's just a little bitty normal thing. You're like, you mean I've been afraid of this my entire life? And once I pull back the curtain, just look at face to face, it's this easy. So then we get our power back. Then we truly are empowered, and we don't have to be afraid of it anymore. Money really is nothing to be afraid of once we have the know-how.
Mm.
So it's working on that old trauma and the dysfunctional relationship and that money baggage. And it's just learning that out of all the categories of life that we need to get good at, like the health and relationships and these other pieces, money's is the easiest out of all of those. So that's exercise number one. Exercise number two on the mindset piece is to really pay attention to the words that you use. And this is what are some of the words and phrases? So, for example, do we catch ourselves? I did this for a long time, that no matter how much money I had, I'd always say the words, I can't afford it. Like, I can't afford this, or money doesn't grow on trees, or just think about all those words and phrases we say, and then look at the source where they came from. So it's all programming. Our money mindset is programmed by the time we're 7 years
Yep.
old.
That's, I'm just like, money doesn't grow on trees. That's
Yeah.
what my mother would say all the time.
Yeah. So we want to write those down, because we're just programmed as children. So until we uncover these programmings, we can't change it, and they rule our life. I mean, in all categories, so money's no exception.
Mm.
So that's another exercise, is to understand that as children, our programming when it comes to money is the words are and parents are afraid of the words and phrases our parents used. It's even more confusing if there's both parents are saying something totally different as children. So those words and phrases, and then it's laughable in ways, because holy shit, I'm saying the same things my parents said without even realizing it. So that's the verbal programming. Then there is, and because we're little listening ears as kids, like just,
Really,
just
sponges absorbing,
it.
absorbing.
So that's the verbal. Then there is the, what did we witness? What do we see with our eyes? So if we saw our parents, if we, let's say as a single mom, like I did, my mom was always saying there's never enough money. No, you can't have that. and and just all those that I can't afford, I can't afford, I can't afford. There's that, and just saying, oh yeah, like your father doesn't pay child support, and we're in this. So it was all this negative stuff with money, and we don't have enough. And so that programming, again, it will really rule us forever. But it's getting like, what did we hear? then what did we see? Well, I saw my mom crying over money. I saw my mom
God,
on the
you're
phone
making me
arguing.
so emotional. It's like, yeah, my mom would come home and she'd be exhausted and tired counting her tips, $1 bills, $1 bills, because she washed hair for a living. And I was embarrassed of that. I felt for her that I wanted her to have more, but she didn't go to college. She did the best she can to survive. And that's why I was like, I got to try hard. I got to go to college and get straight A's and get scholarships. Yeah. Ooh, you're opening some stuff.
Yes, and that's you feel that, right? Like those
Yeah.
feelings are still in there, and those are the feelings we need to tap into and just clean them up. Just
Yeah.
deal with them, clean it up, and just change the programming. But we can't change what we're not aware of. So having that awareness and just replace it. So we could replace things like I can't afford it to what would be a replacement for that. Like I can't afford it. I'm just choosing not to spend there today. I'm
Mm.
choosing something else instead. So the words just reprogramming if I can't afford it, change the whole mindset. Like I really can afford anything. I'm just choosing not that because that would be at the cost or trade-off of something else that's more important to me right now.
Mm.
But then that just changes it. So now we're actually in this like more abundant type mentality of, oh sure I can, just not that. I choose something else. Or, wherever those words or phrases are, money doesn't grow on trees. It's like, well, what if it did? What sort of metaphorical trees can money grow from? Like maybe there I call money magic, and so we can replace any old programming, and it's a really fun exercise. And then you'll catch yourself, oh, there I said it again, so let me replace it. And it's fun to do with friends or that type of thing. And I said I can't afford it for a long time, and I heard my children say that, so it's like, oh man, I'm going to help correct them. Not correct them like you're doing something wrong, but hey, there's that I can't afford it. Can we replace that? Because I want to help you unprogram stuff that I programmed for you. And then, so we can catch each other and we can laugh about it in a way that's not judgmental. We're not judging ourselves. We're not judging our parents. We're just like, hey, this is laughable. There I go again. Let me replace it. And then money can become fun. And then it can be a topic of conversation. And we can let ourselves off the hook and get rid of this guilt or shame or, man, I should have done things differently. It's like we're all doing the best that we can. And the moment some new information comes in, it's like, all right, today's the day I can change that.
Well, let me ask you this, Krisstina. If I gave you waved a magic wand and said, we can take away that hard childhood of yours, would you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think most of us would be like, I wouldn't change it for me because I wouldn't be where I am doing what I do and the my love and my purpose and my passion without every single thing that's happening.
Mm.
And at the same time, I want to pass on things to others and even my children so that if anybody can avoid some of the mistakes that everybody's going to make their own mistakes, but if people can avoid the mistakes I've made, then it almost makes a lot of my mistakes or the things I've been through worth it because it's helping others.
What are mistakes people are commonly making?
Some of the biggest mistakes when it comes to money outside of not addressing the mindset piece, but it's what I call misthinking money, and it's the lack of skill. It's a financial naivete or ignorance. Some people, I don't like the word financial illiteracy, but I mean that's been used as well. But it's like I said early on that when it comes to money, we're making mistakes and without knowing it. So one of the mistakes is that what I call we misspend. And it means we're spending too much. And this is what I call the hamster wheel. And there's a law that's called Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law says expenses will always rise to match income. So what that means is no matter how much money we make, our expenses will always rise to match it. And that's what keeps us at the trap. That means if we're making $50,000 a year, we have a lifestyle that's $50,000 a year. Then woohoo, we've created a business and we broke out of that ceiling and now we're making $200,000 a year. Well, our lifestyle expenses don't stay at 50. Where do they go? They go to a $200,000 lifestyle. And then if it goes to $500,000, then it's a $500,000 lifestyle. So the lifestyle expenses always match the income unknowingly, like it's invisible. And so without knowing that that's a law, we're going to fall victim to it. So that's where one of the biggest things is that when we don't have a certain structure or system, we don't have the knowledge, then that's all, we're always going to be paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much money we make. That's why it's a myth. We believe the answer to all my money problems is to make more money. Making money doesn't make you rich. How well you manage your money is what makes you rich. It's not about income. I know I work with a lot of people that make $1 million a year, and they're just as financially stressed as everyone else, but even more so because now imagine if they can't make bills or something, they've got all that status and everything that they're really,
Yeah.
have to keep going. So it's more money is more problems unless you understand how to work your money.
Mm.
And so that's one of the biggest pieces, is that we just spend too much. We don't understand the operations of money. The another piece of mistake with money is it's not having liquidity. It's not having cash. And that's what financial security is: cash. That's what those emergency funds are, or that type of thing. That keeps us, meaning we always need that cash, which is that life happens money. That's about that when it is a short month as business owners and entrepreneurs, or there is a health crisis or something happens, we've got the safety net. Cash is a safety net. And cash is the security that in the back of the mind, when we know there's no cash, we can have lots of assets, but if you have no cash, you just know if something happens this month, how am I going to pay my bills month in, month out, month in, month out? That's a financial anxiety and takes a toll on our health, on our overall sense of well-being, our self-confidence. We start feeling like frauds, all these natural feelings that come up as a result of just that month to month type of pressure. And the only way out of that pressure is called cash. So most of us are spending too much. And the reason why we don't have cash is we're spending everything we make, and we're not creating that cash fund.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
the
another mistake
people.
is it's not understanding the difference between income and wealth. And the only way to get to financial freedom is where asset income pays our bills and not our hard working income. So the whole game of money is make a great income, spend less than you make, live a great lifestyle off the percentage that you get to spend, invest the other portion to buy assets, and keep doing that until the day that your assets produce your work, replace your working income. And at that point in time, that's what's called financial freedom. And that's when you're completely out of the hamster wheel. Now, that doesn't mean all your problems are gone. It doesn't mean that you just magically have this financial happiness. There's a whole different level of work that many times comes at that point. Because what happens then when you've reached a certain place, now you're afraid of losing it. And now your whole life becomes about not losing the money. And that's a whole different level of pain,
Yeah, different level of pain for sure.
financial conflict or stress or anxiety or fear. So then that's what I call just the divinity piece of money, meaning, yeah, we create the security, we create the freedom, we create the wealth, and it could be gone tomorrow, so we can't be attached to it. But when we have the know-how of how to go do it again, then we don't even have to be in the fear of losing it, because like if it goes, I can just do it all over again. And that's true empowerment when it comes to, that's true financial freedom.
Mm. Absolutely. I know one of the biggest fears, I'm thinking about this, you're stirring my brain here. When I was a child, I had my own belief systems, but after my car accident, I was working with children and I was so broken, I couldn't. So I worked the other end of the spectrum with people 90 to 100 years old, right? And I couldn't believe, I realized it's like once we retire, unless we set ourselves up with retirement, there's no more income coming in except maybe your social security or whatever you've saved. So I have this impending fear now about the future. And that's where it's very important for me. And I didn't realize it until I was with people in their late 80s, 90s, having to pay for assisted livings at $7,000 a month. And it was really, really frightening. I wonder how much it is that it always eventually works out, that you're always safe. I mean, that's an energetic piece too. I just know when I had the accident, I couldn't work for a year, but I did survive somehow. There were a lot of miracles that came into my life. But it just life experiences that just make you grow. You have to learn from and find a way to work it out. So how do we work this out with money? What are the steps to, where do you even start? Say you're not looking at your bank accounts, you're not balancing your checkbook. Where do you start?
That's one of the starting. So the first starting place is some of the mindset stuff, just to get clear. But a lot of people just teach mindset, and my problem with that is that a lot of even the work that I do, like even though mindset's important, it's important for the long term. But in the short term, I say I don't care about your mindset. just do exactly what I tell you to do, and you're going to be fine. We can work on your mindset later. So just follow the rules, just do what has to be done. And I have a very specific methodology that I teach. It's like, just do what I say, and I don't care how you feel. The feelings can be addressed later. So that's understanding that there really is a code when it comes to money. There's a reason why some people are wealthy and other people aren't. Is because wealthy people, meaning they have assets, they have net worth, they have passive cash flow. They're methodically with their money. They know how much money they have. It's a whole different way of being with your money than a high income broke person or a low income broke person. And what I mean by broke is living paycheck to paycheck, really afraid of not being able to pay one's bills, or if something happens, just that constant pressure and tension. Debt comes with that. Debit, there's a reason why we say debt feels heavy, because it's actually like a heavy burden. It's a metaphorical term, but it feels that way.
Mhm.
So debt is really stressful and causes that. So with it's just understanding that there's a totally different way of behaving with your money,
Mm.
what wealthy do as opposed to non-wealthy. And again, wealthy means that you have assets, you have passive cash flow, you have this liquidity, you have non-liquid assets, you have these other pieces, you have maybe a good cash flow business that's working. But it's understanding that there's these elements that it's a way of thinking and acting and behaving with your money that's very different. And that's the reason why some people have wealth and other people don't. That's the good news is that everybody can learn the skills to become wealthy. It's
Mm.
not rocket science. It's
Okay,
just we're
what
not
are the
the time
secret
and money.
codes? Yeah, and I would just definitely want to get your book, and tell us the name of your book again, because I love that.
Yeah, so I created a free gift for your audience, and they can go to fallingformoney.com, which is a free digital download of my book. You can order the paper copy on Amazon, of course, but I wanted to do that for your audience, just to learn some of the technique. And money is technique. I mean, that's just it. It can be learned technique. And when I was younger, I got this Rubik's cube as a gift for Christmas or something, and you're just like doing this, and I mean, you're thinking this is impossible. There's no way to put this Rubik's cube in. And I can't tell you how many hours I spent trying to just.
Did you ever? I never did. Couldn't
Well,
figure
the
it
thing is then I learned that there was actually a code, a pattern to putting the Rubik's cube together. So it wasn't easy, but it was like a puzzle. But I studied the code, and I just kept studying and studying and practicing and practicing. And it took however many months for me, but I just kept studying the code. You know, back then it was in paper version, and would be twisting this and doing it. And then one day, the first day, it just worked. I'm like, holy shit, I just put the Rubik's Cube together. But I would have done the rest of my life trying to figure that on my own had I not known there's a formula for how to put the Rubik's Cube together. Then once I did it once, that's all I needed. Now, did I do it right away the second time? No, there's still 12. But then I was doing it behind my back. I do it blindfolded when I got really good at it. But it was all learned skill. But that's the way I look at money is like a Rubik's Cube. You have to learn, once you know there's a pattern and formula, it's not super, you can't learn it overnight, but you can learn it much easier than a Rubik's Cube, by the way.
Mhm.
And then once you just follow the code and keep practicing, and then once you get the Rubik's Cube of money, it's like, I've got it. Now I know I can do it. Now I'll just get faster and better, or maybe I'll, whatever I do with that. So that's the biggest thing. It's to understand that how we feel and believe about money is real, and we need to address those things. It's understanding that if we have a relationship with our money where we ignore it, it's not going to work out. What wealthy people do is they know where their money is. They track it. They want to spend time with it. It's all in one dashboard. They manage it. They want it in my pocket as opposed to somebody else's. So my healthy relationship with money, you could ask me anywhere, like any business of mine, my personal account, you can ask me any question with money, and within a minute, I can give you that exact answer, because I know exactly where every dollar of all my money is in 6 different businesses and probably 20 different types of assets. And within 30 seconds to 60 seconds, I can give you any answer. That's how close I am with my money. We spend a lot of time together. We have a great relationship. So, but that's the other piece, is that money has to be systematic and structured. If we don't know where it is, if we don't know how much money is coming and going, systematically, we're never going to have control over it. It's always going to be elusive and just out of reach. So
Mhm.
that's another thing, is that there has to be financial system and tools. So I call it the dash. And when it comes to money, my dash method is, it's first of all having a destination. So with anywhere, if we want to go to, we could go to the airport, and if you don't know where you're going, there's 100 planes going different directions. So where are you going? So if we said, oh, I want to go to London, then I'm going to go on a plane to London because I've created the destination. So when it comes to money, we need the destination, and that's answering the question, how much money is enough? And that's actually a quantifiable answer.
Mhm.
So if we don't know how much money is enough, how do we know if we've ever gotten there? That means it's just never enough, and the answer is always more. So what's the destination? How much money is enough to live a good life, to live the lifestyle that that we desire to live? So
Mhm.
that's the destination. How much money is enough? Then if we have the destination, we're going to London, that's great. The second component is what I call the atlas or the map. We need a map, a model.
Okay.
So if you're wherever you are in Phoenix, I can say, hey, I want to go visit you in Phoenix. And let's say I'm driving in this case. And then, but you just said, hey, I want to know the destinations is your exactly pinpoint house, your exact address. But if I just say, hey, I want to go visit you, but I don't have a destination, mean the address. But now let's say I have the address and I'm driving. Am I just going to start driving west? How am I going to get to your house? I need some type of map or GPS system to get me there. And then we drop in the pen, and now it's great that the maps are on our phones, but we used to have paper maps. But you have to have a map. Like, what's the map or model that's going to get you from point A to point B? So once you know where you want to go with your money, what's the map to get there? You have to have some model or map, something. So then the second one, the S stands for systems and tools. And so you need a financial system, financial statements. I call it your personal profit and loss. Like, you have to pull a profit and loss. You need to know your balance sheet. You need to know your numbers, and a financial system that puts all your money in one place, that allows you to systematically manage it and grow it. It has to be systematic. Money just operates that way.
Mhm.
Um, so, and then the tools. And so what type of tools do you use? And so if we do that, let's say if I have a goal or destination, I want a single story house, about 3,200 square feet. We talked about the architect. Well, now the architect draws out the plans or the blueprint. Now we have the tools and whatever systems we're going to use to build the house. So that's the S. We have to have a system. And then the H is our habits and practices, like our behaviors with money. We can have all those things, but if we don't change our behavior, then we're going to continue to
Mhm.
produce the same outcomes. So those are all within our control. And once we start putting those components in place, money just starts magically changing. Our whole life, financial life changes.
All right, sounds good. So, yeah, okay. So, that's a good, I love the idea of having the destination, having the map, and having the tools. Can you give any solid pointers of where to start? So, we've got to figure out your destination, how much you need, how much you
How
want.
much- You have to, how much money is enough to live your good life? That's what I
Okay.
call your freedom number. And then, so how much money does it cost to live my desired life? Let's pretend it's $100,000 a year. So then that's how much income I need to make to be able, more or less, I'm simplifying it, to be able to live my lifestyle. Now we want to hit our foot, which is called the freedom numbers. So the next thing to do to calculate it is to multiply, if it's $100,000, multiply it times 20. And so that gives us the asset value we need to work towards as the destination, so that we will start to invest and build an asset that's worth
Mm.
that $2.5 million for the $100,000 of income. So that gives us a destination point. So that now we're going to build this financial system that is going to be our guide, that's going to help us be able to live our lifestyle today and start building towards that future self lifestyle tomorrow, which is financial
Mm.
independence. So those are all easy numbers to do, and to, just get a calculator. Another tool you need is a compounding calculator that you can find on Google. And the one of the misunderstandings with money is we don't, or like lack of knowledge, mistakes, is we don't understand how compound interest works.
Mm.
So let's say, for example, I needed to hit my numbers. I needed a $2 million net worth, let's say. and I'm going to start saving and investing to start building that today. So if I take a certain amount, let's say over 20 years, so I'm just going to do 20 years, 10% interest to hit 2 million and put that monthly amount away. After the end of $2 million, at the end of 20 years, $2 million we have, right? Only $672,000 was from the hard work we put in.
Mm.
And 1.3 million was from compound interest. So our money performs 100% to what we perform, 2x. So that's why to hit that number, we can't work or save our way, hard work our way. We have to put compound interest into effect, because compound interest, our money made us 1.3 million. We only made us 1.3 million. Our hard work just made us 672,000 of the 2 million. So it's understanding we need to pull out a compounding calculator, and this is just some of the know-how. 3, you have to know where all your money is. You have to have it all in one place, and you have to spend time with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something to take away to do is, where's all your money? Where's it coming from? How much you bringing in? How much does it cost to live your life? How much you spending? How much you paying in interest? How much debt is there? What's the plan to pay off the debt? So, I know you're trying to ask for very simple things, but
Well,
all
what
of
does
these,
it look like? What does a schedule look like? How often should you be checking in with it? That kind of thing. It's like, are you doing it just once a month? Am I doing it once a week, every day, at the end of the day?
well, for people that go through my program for 7 weeks, it's a good 3 to 5 hours a week to get them
Ooh.
set up.
But it
And then
takes commitment, right? You have to work it. It's going to be
you have
learning.
to work it with anything up front.
Yeah.
But once you have your financial system set up and working, I mean, I manage lots of money in a lot of different businesses, and I don't spend more than a few hours a month in my finances.
Okay.
So once it's a working system, it doesn't take much, but at the same time, you have to want to be in there and working with it. So yeah, once a month will totally work once you get everything organized and systematic. And money has to be organized. And there's these 5 categories of money. So you have to understand the categories, understand how to put it, how to organize it, and how to move it and manage it. And once you do that, like I said, money becomes so easy. It's like brushing your teeth. It just becomes an embodied behavior that's as easy as anything else we get good at.
Because one of the biggest things with a lot of people when they watch my lives and they all struggle with is just in their own homes, the clutter. So I like how you're relating. It's like it's scattered everywhere. Let's bring it. Let's put a system. Let's organize it. And even cleaning out your house, guys. I know it's hard, but you got to start somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of clutter with our money. So decluttering our money is a big piece of it. And just like, wow, I just feel so much lighter.
And that's the truth of it all. And if you can just clean the house up and clean out whatever the clutter is, if it's a relationship that's not working, if it's a job you hate, it can be changed. So this is good awareness because it does cause pain, emotional and physical pain, when you don't have it in order and sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, ultimately, the takeaway is you can't sweep money under the rug. I mean, that's a good way to put that. If we want to change our financial situation, we just have to get good at money. And the good news is it's actually really easy. It's something we fear. That's once you learn it, you really do realize like, oh my God, I've been afraid of this my entire life, and it was really this easy. So that takes me to one of my favorite quotes. It's like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. So I just really want to inspire people when it comes to money. Just start planning today, and we've got 20 years for that tree to grow and start building that financial independence and financial fortune. And that way, we're working in our business and growing our money and income in the todays, and we're building over 20 years really that long-term longevity piece, financial longevity. That when we're working at both of those at the same time, and we have a plan, we know we're going to hit the target. When you have the GPS, I may get lost a couple ways, take a couple wrong turns and trying to get your house where I'm driving, but ultimately I know I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to get there. And that means I don't have to carry all that anxiety of maybe I'm never going to get to your house in Phoenix. Like if I just was going in circles and circles and circles and and I just kept winding up in the same place. It's like, oh, now that I do this, if I get lost, it doesn't matter. I know I'm going to get there. And that's where we want to get with our money is taking off that stress. It's like, I know the code and I don't have to worry about it anymore. I know this is going to work out.
Okay, I'd love to pick your brain about shopping habits and how to curb those because we are talking about the 5 Ds of one is debt, having a lot of debt. I know there's a lot of emotions around buying things, going out to feel good, or, oh, if I buy this pretty dress, maybe then I'll be good enough. There's a lot of mind games around that. And then how to pay off the debt. So, how to shop smarter and then pay off that debt. What do you recommend to your clients?
So again, debt's pretty easy to pay off. There's a formula to it. I have something that I called my accelerated debt payoff system. That again, and that's a good thing is debt's a really good example. It's like a micro piece of the bigger piece I was just talking about. Is that the same thing? Is that debt's so overwhelming, it just keeps growing, and we can't get out from under it, and it just owns us.
I'm thinking it's like cancer,
It
basically.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Let's say it is a form. So it's like having cancer, let's say, with no treatment plan, with no advice, and it just
Mhm.
keeps the tumor just keeps growing,
Yeah.
and you're hopeless because there's no protocol. But if you meet with an oncologist or a functional doc or whoever your medicine person is,
Mhm.
and they say, oh, this is curable, it's going to take a while, but just do exactly these things and it's guaranteed you're that. I mean, I've done this 10,000 times, and this specific type of tumor absolutely can be reversed, and you can be 100% healthy and as though you've never had cancer before. So how would you feel? Like, you wouldn't be so afraid of the cancer. All you have to do is follow the system, and it might take a little while because it took a while to grow it. It might take a bit to reverse it, but then you can get away from the fear of dying. So when it
Mm.
comes to money, it's underneath, it's still a fear of dying. That's why it's so stressful. It underneath is this tumor, like, I'm afraid this might kill me. It's not going to kill us, but our bodies react the same way.
Mm.
So when it comes to debt, if we have a structured system, just a protocol or a prescriptive plan that we're following, then we don't have to be afraid of dying. It's like, okay, the debt will be paid off. The cancer tumor will be gone. So now I don't have to worry about that fear of dying anymore. All I just have to do is let the time take for the process to reverse the tumor, for
Okay.
the process to reverse the debt. And you can even pinpoint the day where all the debt will be gone. But then it's like, all right, I'm just doing the work, and that it's going to all be gone at some point in the future. So that takes off so much of that stress. And that's, again, very systematic, programmatic. You put it in place, you automate it, and you just let it do its own work. So that would be the debt piece. And again, just programmatically, you can put a system and a plan and system into place that will guarantee to take care of it. The
At first,
second
you have
piece,
to look at it. You
yeah,
have to
first
look
you
at
have
the
to look
debt
at it. Yep.
and look
And
at your numbers.
that's what I call stepping on the scale. Like, if you're
Oh, I love you.
100 pounds overweight, the hardest thing to do is to step on a scale. So I call it the money scale. It's like, we know that weight's been adding on. We've just ignored it. It's like, I'm now ready to do something. I'm going to get on the scale. I'm going to face the truth. I'm not going to ignore this anymore. I'm going to look at the scale and, like, shit, that's 100 pounds. It's even more than I thought. But that's okay. I'm going to work with the coach. I'm going to work with my nutritionist. I'm going to do the work, and this weight's going to come off. But first, we have to step on the scale. We just have to confront the fact that we've put on 100 extra pounds. And that's okay. We don't have to be shameful about it. It's like, all right, now's the day I'm going to reverse. Now's the day I'm going to take control over this.
Is there a way to shrink it down so that it's not like, whoa, I can't look at that? Well, just bite-sized chunks.
Uh,
Drink a
Not really.
glass of wine while you're doing it.
Yeah, just have lots of wine, have lots of moral support, and
Dry
just,
farm wines, by the way.
exactly.
I have to give, we know, we know Dry Farms wines is healthy organic wine. We just had it and it doesn't make you inflamed and it doesn't cause ketosis and all that problem. So, yeah. So any other bite-sized chunks of whey, mental mind games to handle it. You got to look at it. You've got to open it up and see.
The
Any,
other thing is to understand that all of our money is meant to be spent.
hmm,
So it's just, when we understand that money has these different roles and categories, we spend 100% of our money, we just spend it in different categories.
exactly what we,
So if one category is investments, that if we chunk a piece of our money, a chunk of money is just meant to buy assets. We're spending 100% of that money on something fun, like future financial
hmm,
independence and future passive income. So it can be the thrill of unknowing that we're putting money away, that we're spending that money to buy something awesome that's called assets. We have a piece of our money that's just meant on vacations and shopping or that type of thing. So when you chunk your money, we spend 100% of it. It's just this amount of money I'm allocated to buy assets, this amount I'm allocated to pay Uncle Sam, this amount of um, I'm allocating for my monthly lifestyle. This I'm allocating to create that emergency fund. So I have that cash to spend when emergencies happen. And this chunk over here is meant for luxury spending and some dream spending. So that way you're just chunking it out. You get to spend 100% of it. Then there's no guilt. It's like shop away, just shop within the amount of money that's allocated for that amount of shopping experience. So then that's like the bumpers or it's just creating bumpers for ourselves or we get to get like the F1 or something, like full on race that car, but you go between the line, there's the lines and there's the the roads that guide us. I mean, you just can't go off and you're going to crash your car if you go off the roadway. So the roadway is a system, but you can race the car. So that's the same thing. We're just creating these bumpers or these lines, if you will, that we spend inside of them. But then it's the joy of spending 100% of what we make in these different categories. So there's no guilt, there's no shame, and we have our bumper set up systematically that allows us the freedom to earn and spend and invest and just rock this money thing.
Okay, let me ask you this. So I used to be a shopaholic, and then I had to read books on it and all. I used to go in and just, I felt like it was filling me up. It would bring me such joy. I would spend, I can't even go to Scottsdale Fashion Center here because I would spend like $1,000 or $1,500 at a time. And I still hold on to all the things that I bought because I bought them and they were expensive. What do you tell people in this way to kind of slow down? Because when it is almost an addiction or filling a need, what do you coach around that?
Yeah. So one is just recognizing that that is there. And then any sort of accountability it's like, I love ice cream. I don't buy ice cream because in the refrigerator because I'm going to eat it the whole thing. Like I just don't have the willpower to not go to the freezer if there's ice cream in there. So I know that about myself. So I'm going to create a certain structure. Now I'm going to go enjoy ice cream every once in a while, but I'm not going to have a tub of it in my house on a regular basis just because I know me. So a lot of that is like, should I feel guilty or feel like a lot of shame that I don't have the willpower to not eat the ice cream? No, that doesn't make me a bad person. It just means I'm not going to keep ice cream in my fridge. So
Mhm.
some of that is just around creating those types of, I'm not going to go to a fashion mall because I just know me and that type of thing. Or when you do, you go, it's like, all right, I have $500 cash that I've actually been sweeping and putting into this. And I'm just going to go blow the 500 because I've earmarked and saved this money for that blow. And that way we can feel good about it. So it's creating systematic so you're not robbing yourself at that experience. It's
Mhm.
understanding your just tendencies and don't think willpower is going to um, to prevail in most of those cases. And then it's just appreciating and valuing your money, that there's always a trade-off. So if I'm trading, it's understanding that I have a choice. I could go spend $1,500 at the mall and buy something. But when we get more in touch with that, we can say that what's an alternative. If I compare, if I can just look at the trade-off, do I think I'm going to feel better in the long run if I don't eat the ice cream and I go to the gym instead? It's like, so now I'm going to go to the gym instead of eating ice cream. Now I'm going to actually put that money in my investment bucket because I'm so excited to buy my first piece of real estate investment that the lure of spending the $1,500 isn't all that alluring because it's robbing me of this opportunity to buy
Mhm.
this investment.
Mhm.
So we then get very connected to what the replacement is. So it's not like you're giving up the shopping. It's just like what would make me more fulfilled is buying my first investment property.
That's
So that
mindfulness. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So that can replace it. Now you're like, fuck that. I don't want to go to the mall. That's going to rob me of this first investment property. And all I need to do is save this amount. I'm sweeping this amount. And I'm already set that I can target the date that I'm going to buy that first piece of property. So that becomes a new focus. That's about focused on not the diet and giving up the French fries or the ice cream. It's about how great I'm going to feel when I hit these other goals and targets of being a certain weight and having a certain amount of energy and having this healthy lifestyle. So we don't feel bad for, we're not giving up something. We're actually just looking at replacing it for something that feels
I
better.
love that. That's wonderful because I have studied books, and we won't go name big names, but you know who they are. I've studied them, and I was really on purpose. And what I learned was I used to just go in the store and spend blatantly. I was not mindful of it. Even if I go into the grocery store, so if I set a budget and then I can find some bargains, that's extra money that I save. If I have an $80 budget, but I only spend 60, that's play money. So I really had to learn that. And it was just so automatic what I was doing without mindfully thinking of it.
And to understand this dopamine, the dopamine's real.
Talk about
So
that. Yeah, because we've got it with our cell phones and
with
internet.
everything. So, I mean, so especially that new novel feeling, that's dopamine. So how does it feel every time the Amazon box shows up? I mean, that dopamine spike goes when we click the buy button, and that dopamine spike goes up when we get the ring at the doorbell. Then it goes down, and that wears off pretty quickly. So there's little tricks. A lot of times what I like, something I do, for example, and these are silly things, but if I go to Amazon, I'll add things to the cart, and then my thing is I won't buy anything for 48 hours.
Okay.
And I can't tell you how often I even forgot that I had anything in the Amazon cart. Or I'll go back later and be like, oh, how silly, I'll just clear out the cart. So a lot of it's just tricky in that immediate gratification dopamine hit. It's like, that's why sugar's so addictive. It's that automatic hit and high that we get.
Mhm.
So all these things are real. It's just, dopamine's real and these things are real. So how can we trick ourselves in a way that we're not victim of our own biology? And so there's a mindfulness piece, there's these little tricks and hacks that we can do. And then we just set up our lifestyle and environment in a way that we're in control, and our biology is not in control, not social status and need for external validations in control, our own trauma is not in control. And that's just the journey of life. We're working on those things in all categories. And money's, like I said, money's no exception.
So can you share now where you're at with things in your life as far as finances go? What piece you've come to, what you're still working on?
Yeah. So um, that's such a great question. I'm not even sure anybody's asked that before, and I think it's an important question because when we listen to some people with money that talk about money, it's like, would you show me? Would you show me what's under the hood?
But you're
So
still processing. You're not perfect. You're still working through things. So it's just beautiful to see you're like, getting introspective. I'm making you pause a bit. Go
yeah,
in.
so, I mean, just to tell a story where we're all on this journey, and
Mhm.
even I just had my latest money lesson that we don't have time to go into.
Well, you're a money expert, so aren't they going to come?
Yeah,
But
mine is, and here's the thing: like I understand money really well,
and you're
and
confident you can get it back.
yeah, and I betrayed my own money value. Like I did what I advised nobody else to do. And in the last 2 years, I mean, $6 million vanished. And that's real money. That's money I worked for. That's money I created. I manifested. I built. And my choices, just overnight, $6 million vanished over 2 years of life choices. I'm happy to share that story some other time. And at first, what I realized is that I'd worked so hard to build, and I was so afraid of losing it. Like I was in that lesson of holding on. And so based on my own choices, just life blew up, and there went $6 million
Had a
of my
lesson.
life, right? That at first, the first thing was hurt, betrayal, anger. How could this happen to me? It's not fair. Um, and I think it was my lesson from Mother You. It's like, hey, honey, you're this money expert, but your final lesson is that at the end of the day, you can't you can't be afraid of losing it, because that means money still owns you. So once I worked through all that, that's what I call just the divinity of money, is that, yeah, we build all these things, but it can vanish. And then it's like, all right, let's just go do it again. So where I am today, after $6 million gone,
Mhm.
is my net worth is now around 4 million. And that means I have assets, not including my house, worth about that much. And I can show this, so all can be grounded. It's not bullshit. It's in my
Mhm.
QuickBooks, for example. And I have a decent amount of passive income from my assets, even after all of this, that mostly pays my bill. I've had to decrease my cost of my lifestyle so that my passive income from my assets covers the cost of living. So in a way, I would say that's financial freedom in the sense that I have, even with that, I've created a situation for myself where I'm out of the paycheck to paycheck fear. At the same time, I'm in a real growth phase. That money vanished, and I intend to. That was a $6 million lesson or investment that I plan to not just make that 6 million back, but I think it's going to be exponential. I'm convinced of that. And so now I'm just in the joy of rebuilding, in the joy of like, all right, I've done it twice before, third up, let's go again. But in that, while at that same time, just based on a lot of choices I did make, I put myself in a financial situation that I'm okay, regardless of that being the case. So, but it's a before when I was so angry and betrayed and all the things that happen, I just realized that I was still owned by this money thing. And again, this real financial freedom is like, yeah, I have some financial freedom, like the passive income piece and savings and investing and that type of thing, investments. But the real freedom is I'm not attached to the money. And now I'm really excited about the to see what this next phase of life is and what I'm capable of doing. And every day is about going out and making that magic happen. And it's the first time I've been in this place in my life where it's really for the full purpose and joy of it, as opposed to some other narrative that really runs the show.
Would you say losing that $6 million was a hidden trauma? It's kind of there's a little fear around doing that thing again.
Yeah, I think that was my final money lesson, is that, I made certain
Okay, we
choices.
are declaring that now. That is Kristina's final money
That's
lesson.
that's my final thing. But I had to learn that lesson for this next phase of what I'm teaching, which is what I call the mind, body, and spirit. The mind is the mindset. The
Mhm.
body of money is the embodied knowledge, is the skill. I was missing the spirit. I now have I had a really healthy mindset with money, and I'd worked through all that. So really strong mindset, just a complete abundance mindset, and worked up all that money trauma through all those couple of decades. Then the body of money, skillful. I'm really skillful with money. And I teach exactly what I do. And I have money confidence. Like, I am confident when it comes
Money
to money.
confidence. That's a good affirmation. I have money confidence.
Yeah. And so, but what I was missing, which was what I call the spirit of money, which is the divine relationship. And so that was that lesson, is that, all right, now it's about the spirit of money and what's my spiritual relationship with it. And then how does, and I really believe that this whole spiritual relationship is going to outperform everything I've ever done to this point in my life. And that's really where the magic is.
Mm.
And that gets back to that place of everything else, is it's fear, love, fear, love. And I was in a fear of loss and I was holding on tight to things that again, money owned me. Now it's just like, I just have complete faith. It's like, let's go. I know what I can do, and let's go have fun doing it. So it's like, really, it is, even though it's this, I'm very attentive to every dollar, and I know, that relationship, understand that's money's laws, while at the same time having complete faith in the universe that I'm going to produce such a return on those investments, if you will, those lessons and investments, and just can't wait to see what's next. So it's living in both of those realities at the same time.
Yeah, I think of nature and think of animals, and fish aren't like, where's my next meal going to come from? Birds, it's just provided for them. And where I'm at is I'm in the lesson. I'm tumbling in the ocean of the lesson spiral. I don't know where I am. Were you at that point, at that $6 million loss, where I don't know what this lesson is? I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm frozen, because that's where I'm at now. But hearing this, I think you're going to inspire tons of people. But so how long did it take to figure out this lesson? Because it might have been, I'm never going to get through this. So that's what I'm telling
Oh,
myself.
I was in that for months,
In
and
this, even though my money expert, you know your stuff,
Mhm.
but you came
Absolutely.
out.
Yeah, and I mean, there's all those narratives surface. Like, I'm too old to do it again at this time, and with the law, like all that self doubt and all that nonsense,
Yeah.
like, and just feeling and experiencing all that stuff surfaced, and there was just clearing it and doing the work to clear it, and then clearing it. It's like, well, that was just bullshit. I mean, that's just
Mhm.
made up nonsense. But yeah, I was absolutely in that for a while, and a lot of fear and hurt and anger. And what if I can't do it again? Or what if I'm too old? Or what if I can't do it on my own again this time? And because I'm single,
Manipulative.
and,
Mhm.
so all those things surfaced, and then I just called bullshit on all of that. And then there's also what I call the lifeline. It's that, yeah, we're swimming in, and that stuff was real, but there are lifelines that can pull
Mhm.
us out quicker. So when we have the lifeline, when there's someone that, if we're in the ocean just drowning and we feel like we're going to drown, just like what's the lifeline? Who can throw it, or what's something I can do that's at least going to hold me up and start pulling me out of you know the turmoil, out of the wave crashing and everything
Yep.
else.
Or one day at a time, one day at a time. And I know with my financial risk that I did it to grow, because if I didn't do it, I didn't think I'd ever get into that wealth mindset. So I'm just playing with it. I'm just kind of enjoying the ride. I have my freak out moments, but I do go get my lifelines. I do yoga, or I go to a counselor or talk to a friend, and I just pray that I'll get through it, because I could be in a full body brace and a coma, and I resourced to this. I overcame this. I did. I know I can get through it. So I'm
You
going to
did,
reach
and
out
you
to
had
you.
doctors and experts that helped you.
Yeah. And you are that
So
money expert.
if you were laying in the bed with no help trying to get through the yeah, so and that's it. It's like a financial lifeline in a way. And you're young, you're ambitious, you're smart, you're a great businesswoman, you work hard, like you are just fine. All you're missing, and most of us are missing, is a little money understanding and systems that then give you the exact plan of attack of how to get out of the water, to
Hmm.
get out of the middle of the ocean. And once you know that, it's like, oh yeah, I'm strong enough. I've got this, I've got that, I've got all these tools, resources, yada yada yada. So now that I know exactly the plan to get me out, I don't have to worry about drowning anymore. So
Mm.
you put it, you just a couple of those missing pieces, and then you have, like I said, you have clarity. You have the ability to see that this is just temporary because you see the way out. Another little metaphor I'll just maybe add there. It's like being in a swamp, and you're lost in a swamp, and it's scary and it's dark, and you're just going in circles, and you keep going. There's this snake pit over, there's quicksand, and up there's a big huge spider web, and over there is then over there's hyenas that want to eat you. And so just you're going through the swamp alone, or this thing, and you just keep bumping, and then you find yourself in the same place again, and you're just going in circles. So the fear is like, what if I never get out of the swamp? I'm going to die here. I mean, I keep bumping into all of these dangerous animals and situations. So same situation. Now, what if somebody handed you a map that said, okay, now at this snake den, go 3 feet to the left and then hang a right. Oh, when you hit the spider web, now again, go. So it's a map, like a treasure map, that you get to avoid all these pitfalls that are there. But there's a map. You're here, and here's a map out. So you're still in the swamp, and it's a little scary, but you're going to get out. And that's what many of us are missing, is the map out of the swamp. We're just stuck in the swamp, just trying on our own, circling, thinking, if I just wake up a little earlier, if I just try a little harder, if I just eat a little bit less, maybe I'll finally just accidentally find my way out. And you might, but what if you don't? So most of it's just the map. And
Yeah.
maybe
Being
you
lost is
get into a compass, somebody hands you a compass and a map and a few other things here and there. It's like, all right, now I know I'm going to find my way out.
hmm Wow, great, great information. Krisstina Wise, get her book, Falling for Money. You can opt in on the button below this interview. And tell us about your Money Accelerator digital course. I'm excited to try that.
Yeah, I do. I have a 7-week program, what I do love to do, I only offer it to those that I think I can really help and match. So I do 30-minute financial coaching calls or consultations.
Great.
And so if anybody wants to do that 30-minute, I can just very quickly give like a diagnosis. It's like going to either your financial therapist where you just need to vent, or your financial doctor where it's like, all right, 30 minutes, I can give you a diagnosis and I can give you a prescription for what to do. And so I've offered those as well if anybody's interested in taking that type of stuff.
Well, thank you. You really made this manageable. You simpled it down to help kind of calm some of that fear. And I think our listeners are going to really enjoy this. So thank you so much. And I'm going to hop off and write my love letter to money. Or is it a love letter?
It is a love letter. Yes, it's a love letter. And, I'll complete by saying, I mean, I know we hear this often, but I really mean this. Like, if I've been able to do this, everybody can. I'm just a poor white kid that grew up with a terrible education
Oh,
and a girl and all those different things that we all have our stories. And I'm just here to say that I've done it. I've done it more than once. I'm still standing. I'm still going. And no matter where you are financially, you can totally reverse it and be on a path to financial abundance and independence and freedom. And it's available to everyone. If I've been able to do it, everyone can, I promise. It's not hard.
all right. Do you have one affirmation you can leave us with?
That I am rich, I'm abundant, I'm wealthy. I love money. I'm money confident and I rock this money thing. So just
Woohoo.
to be true and game on.
Awesome. You are awesome. You are a strong, powerful woman. I wish you so much success in what you're doing now. And now you're rebuilding and growing.
Yeah, I am. So thank you. And I'm here to serve. So whatever I can do to help.
All right. This is great. Thank you so much. I'm sure people are going to love this. And now we just have to take action. And if you
Yes.
can't, that's where accountability from a coach comes in. Yeah. Thanks so much, Krisstina. Thank you, Krisstina. That was a great interview, guys, wasn't it? I mean, really. I love the idea of looking at money as if it's like a relationship, whether it's something you want to push away or something you want to bring closer and love, getting connected with it, and just taking us back to the journey of money and where our beliefs came from about money, and then knowing that we can make those changes and empower ourselves, but we do have to face it. So that was a great interview. I'm really excited to implement some of the things that I've learned there. I really would love to hear from you if you had some ahas. So feel free to reply to any emails that I send to you. And if you love this interview, and we've got many, many great interviews coming up for you, consider purchasing this series so you can have them. You can keep them for life. And not only that, what you do is if you listen to them when you're having a challenging day, maybe you're doubting yourself, maybe you're not believing in yourself, maybe there's something you want to accomplish, but you're holding yourself back. This series, listening to it, listening to these people's stories, these experts overcoming challenges and the strategies they're teaching is really just brilliant. So again, I hope you're enjoying this. And if you'd like to purchase the series, you also get a one-on-one session with me where we can dig deep. We can uncover some of those hidden beliefs, some of those things that are keeping you stuck, and maybe give you some new behaviors to implement so you can really, really shine and attract the wealth in relationships, the wealth in health, and the wealth with money. All right, take care. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.